Daily Space Weather, folks, coming at you once again. I be your host, smAsho. I'd like to start things off with a quote from Dennis, the 37-year-old constitutional expert.
Government, supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony.
Supreme executive powers derive from a mandate from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony. I mean, if I went around saying I was an emperor just because some moistened bink had lobbed a scimitar at me, they'd put me away. Anyway, good morning for all you folks who are reviewing this first thing.
Come, Governor. Let us not be paralyzed. Let us rise and take the day roughly from behind, as the Colonel used to say in his unfortunate way.
Anyway, we are streaming this live to Twitch with good reason. It's because the platform is fantastic, and we've got issues with some other platforms, lots and lots of issues. So, have you converted your life to DuckDuckGo yet and stopped using junkware as a search engine? Guess what? It won't track you even if you're out of private browsing mode. It won't store your personal information. It won't follow you around with ads. How you like them apples? It's DuckDuckGo.com, the search engine that will return objective results and will not attempt to interfere in U.S. presidential elections, 2 presidential elections in a row, like some other companies. Let's move on to looking at the sun here in 193 angstroms. This is a 48-hour video, folks. You can see this active region in the southwest moving into a setting spot, as well as some active regions rising up here, and a little smaller one here near the equator. We'll show you some close-ups momentarily. First, let's make sure everything's going good here. All right, good. Everything looks good to go. And here's a 304 angstroms view. Again, 48 hours worth. Some filaments have set over the west. And so there's that image. And we've got some more images of the local yellow dwarf coming up here momentarily once this plays through. And let's look at the HelioViewer custom movies that we made for today. Here's the region around the solar equator on the east. You see a little bit of activity rising there just north of the equator. And next we're going to look at the South Pole area. First in 304 angstroms. And again, we are streaming this live, folks. So I apologize if there is a little bit of guerrilla-style tactics here. Anyway, there's that active region in 304 angstroms. Ionized helium. And next we'll look at the same region in 171 angstroms. And there's the loopy ionized iron associated with that plage, the active region that's setting in the southwest. Last but not least, we'll look at the fields real quick in 171 angstroms and magnetogram. There's the 171. There's the magnetogram. 0 sunspots, folks. We'll show you the intensity gram toward the end of the video. And let's look at where the planets are. There's where the planets are located. There's where they'll be in 1 week, a couple days into spring. And by the way, we're doing a equinox stream as we do for each season, as it is a significant cosmic event. So please view our live stream. We should be live on Twitch and also on YouTube simultaneously there. Here's where stuff is above my head. And I'm always interested in things like Deneb, one of the only known point sources for cosmic rays. And we're going to be talking about astrophysical jets for a moment also, because it's hilarious. Next, we're looking at the KP index. It is recently come down from 3 down to 1. 10.7 centimeter radial flux back up to 70, so that's good news. X-ray flux is totally flatlined. There's the data from that. And here is the cosmic ray section, and I'm going to vanish because this is a white screen. There's the Apatity neutron monitor, and it's looking pretty flat over 30 days. There's Barentsburg, small uptick there over the past 30. Next we'll look at Athens, Greece. See if that loads, and indeed it does. And there's Athens showing that odd downtick of 39% on March 5th. Otherwise quite flat over 30 days. Next we'll look at Mexico City. And we cover cosmic rays every day or 2 or 3 on the channel. Let's see if Mexico City is able to load. Doesn't look like it's loading. Next we'll look at Moscow. And there's the Moscow neutron monitor, which often does show pretty wild swings. And that is a slight downtick over the past 30 days also. And lastly, we'll look at Oulu, Finland, and DOMC, Antarctica. There's Oulu. Stop, don't touch me there. That is my neutron square. Flat over the past 30 days. And pretty flat there at DOMC, Antarctica. Also, if you want to monitor these yourself, don't take our word for it. Click the links below the video. You'll find the network of cosmic rays stations there. And you can monitor them yourself. Let us know if you see something weird. Drop me a line at smashomash@gmail.com, the email associated with the YouTube channel. Next, we'll look at the real-time solar wind, and we're seeing a phi angle of 333 degrees. Solar wind density creeping up here, making it up to 17.78 protons per cubic centimeter there, so a significant uptick in the solar wind density, while the solar wind speed drops down to 327 kilometers a second. Looks a bit like a coronal hole wind stream, so we'll see if that speed comes up when the density comes down, perhaps later today. There's the latest data from ACE. And part of the reason that we covered cosmic rays is because we see some missing data here. And the cosmic rays are one of the things that can induce what we call a CCD bakeout. And a CCD is a charge coupled device that is part of the instrumentation on the satellites. Next we'll look at the geospace magnetosphere movies, and it's looking pretty steady there. Again, we have a quite dense solar wind right now, nearly 20 protons per cubic centimeter. So let's keep an eye on that throughout the day. And when I say ion, the pun is, well, you get the idea. Next we'll look at the ground magnetic perturbations here on a global scale as we transmit live from the smAsho bunker. And I apologize if you hear a rumbling in the background that sounds like the Starship Enterprise. The reason that that is there is indeed classified. We'll let that play through, and while we do, I'll show you this. It's elderberry wine, and yes, the bottle is totally full and unopened. It is also classified how many rolls of toilet paper and bottles of elderberry wine we have. If you're wondering why we have it, it's because elderberries are an antiviral agent. Don't go and buy out your local liquor store, folks. Just buy a few bottles. It should be enough. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Next, looking at the GOES magnetometer to see only one satellite. The GOES 15, I believe it is, has been offline for days. And there is the continued spiky pattern as we forecasted for the last couple of weeks, and it's all associated with this data here. It's the Gong 2 data. And we're going to continue to see anomalies there, spiky readings, not linear waves here, not nice smooth waves in the GOES magnetometer. And you can see all the different densities of plasma, where it's completely different here versus here. And so those GOES magnetometer readings are still going to be, here's another spot where it's very dense in this area and very diffuse in this area. And that all has to do with the direct connection between the sun's magnetic field and the Earth. We won't get into it on this video. Line of sight field plot is next. And keep in mind the data from both of these Gong 2 interpolations is about 2 hours old. And also keep in mind the magnetic environment can change with no warning. This is how sunspots form suddenly, again, with no warning. Electron flux is quite low, as it has been. And so when this recent incoming proton flux ends, we are going to see this come back up. But we've got to wait for the coronal hole wind stream to arrive first, which is likely what that increase in density is. And when it makes it all the way up to 17, nearly 20 protons per cubic centimeter, it should be a pretty significant solar wind stream. So again, keep an eye on that solar wind data throughout the day today. Here's the EFT ionosphere, and it's still looking anomalous down here in the South Pacific, as it has for months, and we've been covering it daily, as we show about 6 hours of ionosphere data each day on the channel. Thanks to our patrons for supporting the content, the websites, and all the other efforts that we're doing. You're the real source of funding for the videos, so hats off to you. Although I'm keeping this hat on. Thanks, patrons. Please consider becoming a patron if you have not already done so, as we need lots more funding. And we've also started a Subscribe Star account, so check us out over there. Also check us out on Alt Tech, like on Minds. It's minds.com/smAsho, the social media that won't censor you. It won't shadow ban you. It won't do all kinds of nonsense that you don't want a social media company doing. And we are very close to the 600,000 views mark. So thanks everybody who's viewing over there, subscribing. Set up an account on minds.com. You can even earn crypto over there. Also, we are on BitChute. And again, please support alt tech sites, as this channel could be deleted with no warning and no explanation. And it's totally not censorship, folks. It's totally not censorship. It's just to increase the quality of your online experience. By the way, we've got a video over there on BitChute that's not yet on YouTube. It's called smAsho Stream Live, Coronavirus Update, Federal Reserve Cuts Interest Rates and Announces QE. So perhaps have a watch. Next, we're going to look at windy.com's pressure maps. There's where things are now. We'll let this advance via the GFS forecast until about noon tomorrow. And there's where things will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's daylight, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. If you're wondering my location, it's the Lehigh Valley in a bunker. And don't try to take our provisions. Just try to rob a bank. You'll get better results and survivability there. Next, I hear there's a series of deep quakes. Shout out to Mary. Thanks for letting me know. Starting off with this 4.4 at Guatemala. That's 2 deep quakes in Central America in 2 days, if I remember correctly. It's a 4.4 magnitude, 161 kilometers depth. And let's scroll up the list. Here's a very deep quake at Italy. 4.4 magnitude at 475 kilometers. Here's another deep quake at Chile. As Western South America is still one of my favorite spots for the end of the 7 and 8 magnitude earthquake drought. There's the Band AC. A deep quake there. So big deep quake event, folks. Lots of deep quakes kicking off throughout the day yesterday. There's one on New Zealand. And that one looks like it's actually on the island. Let's have a look. Very close to the shore there. And that one at, what was that, 98 kilometers? Wow, lots of quakes, folks. So that's nearly 100 kilometers depth. This one in Afghanistan's nearly 100 kilometers at a 4.3 magnitude. Here's a 4.2 magnitude at Chile at 117 kilometers. Here's a 4.5 at 500 kilometers, 520.6 kilometers at Fiji. So lots of deep quakes. I would have an earthquake plan in addition to a bug-in plan if I were you. Also consider wearing gloves when you go into public. How about a 4.5 at New Zealand? It's a 181 kilometer deep quake. Here's another deep quake at Papua New Guinea. That one's at 362 kilometers depth and a 4.9 magnitude. Here's another deep quake at Papua New Guinea. Here's an extremely shallow quake at Hawaii. And we've been covering these for months also. This one looks like it's right underneath the Mauna Loa caldera. And we'll zoom in, and indeed that one is pretty much directly under the main caldera there, give or take. that 2.8 magnitude quake happening at a depth of 500 meters above sea level, or negative 0.5 kilometers. Next, let's talk about the electric view. For any of you who tuned in yesterday and heard Neil Thompson flapping his lips about cosmic jets are the reason the universe is electric, I love it when guys debunk their own nonsense, as when we look at cosmic jets in cosmology, we don't see Markland convection there. Why? Because they're not electric. And part of the reason why stars in the universe are not electric is simply the use of the term electric. And so the reason I've gotten banned from the Electric View's stupid, infantile-minded Skype chat is because I refused to listen to people who spent hours and hours talking about nonsense that they don't understand and calling it science, because it's pathetic. And Neil Thompson is pathetic because he cannot run a server. I would not put Neil Thompson in charge of raking my leaves, much less explaining science of anything to me. Because if you're so pathetic that you don't even know how to warn somebody before banning them from a Skype chat group, you are too sad to be associated with. Surround yourself with excellence, folks. And I'm hoping that we're not recommended anymore on this pathetic channel, because it just sucks. So I used to be a featured channel here. Let's hope it's not there anymore, as I don't want to be associated with people who like censorship and Bernie Sanders and all of the other nonsense, as the universe is not electric, stars are not fundamentally electric, the electric stuff is going on at the surface, not in the interiors. Deal with it, and hey Neil, shove it. Why don't you stop being such a pussy and respond to Skype conversations? On an unrelated note, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, where we try to surround ourselves with excellence and try to avoid complete nonsense on the internet, like Neil Thompson and his infantile band of scientists who all worship at the Church of Electric Universe dogma and don't understand the first thing about what the term electric means, obviously, or they wouldn't be suggesting that the universe is electric, a ridiculous idea. Let's talk about virus and the most recent updates on smashomash.com/forum about it. It's now over 11 pages long, and the Federal Reserve is officially out of gas. Americans will not tolerate negative interest rates, in my opinion. Fed rate cuts are kaput, and the market is pricing in a 0% prime lending rate by crashing further. Expect the market to close down today, and if you want to hear more about it, watch our BitChute video. It's bitshoot.com/smashomash. So relax, stop hoarding. And by the way, as somebody who works in the food supply chain, at least in Northeast North America, we see nothing extraordinary happening with the food supply chain. No matter how much fear-mongering you see on the internet, I've talked to actual food suppliers, and unless they all lied to me, you can indeed relax a bit, because there aren't any food shortages, at least not on this corner of the continent. Also, cortisol is a stress hormone, which is bad for your health. So don't get in the vicious circle of being stressed about the fact that you're stressed about the fact that you're stressed, and realize that the reason coronavirus is so scary is because of mainstream news. Yeah, all of them. So don't listen to the fear-mongering, and don't listen to washed-up Soviet old guys who would prefer to further cripple the U.S. economy by doing even dumber things and by spending even more money than is already being spent. Uncle Bernie and No Malarkey Joe debated last night, and God, it was glorious. Just glorious. Let's check out the number of confirmed cases. It's up to 169,387. Total deaths, 6,513. And by the way, you're going to see the mortality rate of this thing drop and drop and drop and drop. So we are excited about the testing, but we're not delighted to see this yellow line jumping up at these incredible levels here. And now we've got more cases outside of China than in. So the U.S. up to 3,774 confirmed cases, and just watch the mortality rate drop, folks. It's going to get lower and lower and lower. There are probably over 1 billion people already on the earth that are infected, and guess what? Many of them will experience zero symptoms. Let's look at the volcano rundown for the day. Mount Aso is producing a flight level 6000 warning. Don't fly your ultralight aircraft over Osso. Don't fly any aircraft over Osso, really. Dacono's also exploding, flight level 7000, Popocatépetl exploding, 21,000 foot plume there. Fuego, volcanic ash not observed. Don't pitch a tent on the slopes of Fuego. And Revenador, volcanic ash not observed either. Please don't attempt to pole vault the caldera as it could be erupting. Next, we'll look at the jet streams before we close this thing out as soon as possible. There's the jet stream environment in the western world. Here's the eastern world. We've got a couple bonus features here. Let's get into value-added services. Here is the water vapor map for Europe and Africa. There are the time and date stamps. Here is the water vapor map for Far East and Oceania. Here's a water vapor map for the US. And check out that dry air flying across New Mexico there. We're going to zoom in on Colorado as we see some things that look just like Birkeland currents. Oh my gosh, it must be a Birkeland current because the universe is electric, right? Everything's not electric, folks. The term electric means the flow of electrons. So the reason that you fall through the floor, if you're going to say everything's electric because I don't fall through the floor because electrons are repelling each other, that's not what the word electric means. And stars aren't electric. Deal with it. Although that phenomenon in the sky is electric, that's the Hall effect. And let's move on here before we're old and gray, as there's nothing wrong with being old and gray, but I'm actually only slightly gray. Anyway, there's a US Doppler radar. Looks like some heavy snow falling in California. Shout out to smAsho staff's mom. Hopefully your bugging is working out well. I know you're well prepped. Go clean out those AK-47s. Or AR-15s. Anyway, there's the lightning maps. We've got a significant string of lightning here, and I'm kind of over it. Hey, smAsho team. Thanks for tuning into the video. Please don't forget to leave a comment. Please don't forget to share on your social media. Share with your friends. Share with your foes. Surround yourself with excellent and not a bunch of hoes. By the way, David, I don't know what happened yesterday and the day before. I missed you. Give me a ring. If you call me during the day today, you'll have to record. But let's get that call done and talk about all the stuff that we were talking about. Next, we look at the intensity gram. Here is the local yellow dwarf to show you that there are 0 sunspots. You see 0 dark spots there? That means there are no umbrae and hence no sunspots. Let's look at the fields. Here's the colorized magnetogram, if it loads, and it does. And there you can see that region setting. A couple areas of magnetic organization like this one, but otherwise pretty weak activity. And again, keep an eye on that possible coronal hole wind stream that looks like it's coming in, as we're expecting to see an increase in the KP index today as that ramps up the speed. So here's the view in 131 angstroms. Did anybody leave a chat? Indeed they didn't. Thanks for tuning in wherever you viewed this, whether it's on BitChute or on YouTube. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive, and since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the coronavirus absent from your nasal passages.